our world today, there are plenty of things to catch our eyes as we go into major city areas, the biggest one being skyscrapers. Skyscrapers are literally pillars that go into the sky and make everyone look at them in awe and wonder. But when it comes right down to it, they're meant to be tall, they're meant to look unique, and some people even go out of their way to make concepts really unique for skyscrapers. Even when it's designs that can be defined as, well, curious at best. Allow us to show you some of the most insane skyscraper concepts. Be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Number 7. Analemma Tower. You might be curious about whether any skyscraper concept is truly insane, and to that we present to you the idea of Analemma Tower. The concept for Analemma Tower from Cloud's architecture office is really out there. We're talking outer space out there. It would involve capturing an asteroid and putting it in a geosynchronous orbit around Earth. Capturing and repositioning is the least crazy part of this plan, since NASA has plans to do the same thing unless funding gets canceled. The 20-mile-long skyscraper would be built and suspended from the asteroid using high-strength cables. First of all, that's what we want to spend a lot of time and money on? Getting an asteroid locked into place just so we can build a skyscraper on it? We think there are better ways to spend and, well, even waste people's time. Construction is proposed to take place over Dubai before moving the asteroid into position over its home base of New York. Once placed in an eccentric geosynchronous orbit, Analemma Tower would travel between the northern and southern hemispheres in a figure-8 pattern every 24 hours, matching the sidereal rotation of Earth. Now, to be clear, yes, this is a real thing and that we are talking about, and if they are able to do it with one tower, they're gonna want to do it with more just to prove that they can, and overall, yeah, that's pretty insane. Number 6. Big Ben. The Big Ben desires not to be the world's tallest skyscraper, but the world's longest at 4,000 feet. The U-shaped building is the brainchild of Ohio Studio. Instead of sticking straight up to the sky, the building would rise from one base and bend over like an archway to its other base. According to the architect's website, it appears they were trying to design a prestigious building without having to deal with all those pesky height restrictions in Manhattan. The building would definitely stand out. Proposed for Billionaire's Row, the building at nearly 2,000 feet tall would be the tallest in the city if built. Now, on a certain level, this isn't the insane idea per se, as we've seen arches be famous and constructed without too much of an issue, such as the famous arch in St. Louis that you can go and ride in. The difference here, though, is that this would be a skyscraper, and that means it would also be for businesses and such, and that's quite a unique office building to go and work in, don't you think? Number 5. Dynamic Tower. Here's something that'll really get your head spinning in an almost literal manner. Would you want to live in a building where each floor rotates 360 degrees in either direction? Architect David Fisher, who first pitched the concept back in 2008, seems to think so. The 80-story, 1,273-foot tower would also feature a central core elevator, large enough for tenants to transport their vehicles to their floor. Horizontal wind turbines between floors and roof-mounted solar panels would power the overall building. Each floor of the building would be made up of prefabricated units, assembled at a factory and then put together at the site. The building would probably have an ever-changing shape, since each tenant would control the rotation of their floor, which is a lot of power to put in the hands of tenants, and it's definitely a choice that people have to think about before they move in. Ironically though, this kind of building has been made. The Sweet Vaulted apartment building in Brazil features 11 stories that rotate independently of each other. That being said, Fisher's Dynamics have been on again and off again project for a number of years. It was supposed to be in 2020, but that doesn't seem to have happened, and there's been no hint of construction starting in 2021. Number 4. 3D printed skyscraper. Now, this is a concept skyscraper that ties into technology in various ways. Kaza Construction Technologies, a 3D printing construction startup, announced plans to 3D print a skyscraper in 2017. The company will use technology they are calling crane printing. The crane printing system they've created can be fitted onto existing cranes and can print all major structural components. The crane printers will be capable of printing structures 80 meters or 263 feet and taller. The cranes will print parts of the building while the rest of the skyscraper will be built using conventional construction methods. Not much else is known about the project now, other than that plans are for it to be built somewhere in the United Arab Emirates, which does follow a long trend of theirs to go and have buildings unlike any other in the world. Now, on one hand, this isn't that crazy, as 3D printing has already gone and helped make constructing buildings a lot easier, but a building is different than a skyscraper, and that is a lot of product that said printer would have to make. Number 3. Aquaria. Architect Vincent Calabut has designed a skyscraper that would be submerged underwater rather than reaching towards the sky. Each ocean scraper, dubbed Aquaria, would be able to house up to 20,000 people and would reach a depth of 3,280 feet and consist of 250 floors. In addition to the housing, the buildings would feature offices, hotels, farms, sports fields, and science labs. The Aquaria are designed to be 3D printed using recycled plastic from the oceans and function as completely self-sufficient structures. Seawater would be desalinated for drinking, light would be provided through bioluminescence, and organic waste would be recycled using microalgae. The spiral geometry of the building is intended to make it resistant to hydrostatic pressure. Now, on one hand, it is kind of crazy to think that we're not in the underwater world level of concepts right now. Yes, there are places out there that are indeed underwater homes, but those house a family at most, not 20,000 people. Sure, this could help solve the building room problem by putting things underwater, but there is a lot of things that could go wrong, which is why it is still just a concept phase. Number 2, arcologies. Also known as city scrapers, arcologies are essentially entire cities crammed into a single high population density megastructure. For anyone who has seen Judge Dredd, you know what this would be like and look like. However, given cities that are running out of space, this idea seems to be popping up more and more, as it's only a matter of time until it becomes a reality. From Tokyo to New Orleans, plans have been submitted for gigantic city-style buildings that will provide everything a resident needs without ever needing to leave the building. While the technical term of an arcology means that we already have some existing arcologies, research stations in Antarctica, and even technically the Las Vegas Strip, whose series of underground tunnels connect the 3-mile strip, meaning one might never have to go outside, and even the experimental Masdar city on the outskirts of Abu Dhabi fit this criteria. The type of arcology that we're talking about here is much more grand and intentional though. For example, the 366-meter tall New Orleans arcology habitat, NOAA, which could house 40,000 residents and sit on the banks of the Mississippi, designed in the wake of Hurricane Katrina, with the ability to float in the event of another hurricane or flood. Now, this is a double-edged sword, as you can likely guess, because while it does house people, it'll also limit interaction and almost encourage people to stay inside more versus going out. And if you've ever seen WALL-E, well, come on, you know how that goes. Number 1, Earth Scraper. What can you do when you don't have an ocean to build under or enough room to build upward? Why, you just dig a massive hole in the ground and then you put a skyscraper in there. That was the theory when Mexican architect came up with the concept of a 65-story below ground inverted pyramid being dubbed the Earth Scraper. There is very little room for any more buildings in Mexico City, and the law says we cannot go above 8 stories, so the only way is down, explains Esteban Suarez, co-founder of B&KR Architectura, the firm behind the proposals. The plan is for a massive 240 meter by 240 meter glass roof with a huge Mexican flag above, being Mexico City's main public square. There would then be a 300 meter deep inverted pyramid, which would allow natural light to get to the depths of the building. The first 10 floors are set aside for cultural center and museums, with the next 20 floors being residential, then commercial, and then office buildings. The cost of building Mexico's rabbit hole is projected at $800 million, and even the man behind the idea note that there are a ton of problems that could happen as this building gets made. Plus, would you want to live underground potentially 900 feet below the surface? Yeah, we didn't think so. So what do you think? What do you think of this look at the skyscrapers of the world that might be made? And if they do, they would truly be insane looking. Which of these concepts do you personally find the most insane? Which ones do you think might be special should they actually get made? Do you think there were any closer to getting some of them made? Let us know in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe and we will see you next time on the channel.